back to the very first regular season recap of Bears versus Packers, coming to you live from Titletown Flats, right across the street from Lambeau Field, and Dave from the state directly below. Before we get this thing on the road and open up the tab, so to speak, for Packers on the Rocks, two quick things I want to mention. We're doing this episode right on the onset of breaking news with Aaron Rodgers tearing his Achilles tendon after 4 plays for the Jets last night. We just want to take a moment to say that our thoughts are with you, Aaron. That is completely devastating, heartbreaking. I woke up this morning sort of with a feeling of grievance for that. And just, I mean, for all the work that they put in, Super Bowl aspirations, they talk about manifestation. It's just, it's really sad to see. It makes me kind of uneasy even just to think about it. But who knows? Maybe he's back next year. And then on a positive note, though, the Chicago Bears thought they were getting rid of their bugaboo from Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers after 30 years. But hey, you still have a new bugaboo in the Green Bay Packers with now, and we got a bee. I don't know if you see the bee around me either. Geez, Aaron tearing his Achilles, and we got bees buzzing around. But anyways, they thought they were getting rid of the bugaboo. Turns out that's not the case. Dave, I don't know if we can say that the deed has been passed from Aaron Rodgers to now Jordan Love, but at least we can say it's been passed off to another Aaron in the form of Jones. But hey, let's go ahead and open up this tab, get this one, this fire started, and cheers, Dave.
Yeah, cheers, buddy. Yeah, you took my line right out of me, man. I was gonna say it might have been passed from Aaron to Aaron, but it could very well just be in a safety deposit box right now at Lambeau Field, and they're just waiting to hand it out to the right person. But yeah, we kind of what I was mentioning throughout the preseason. Now we got the score right off the bat, which field position we drove right down. Love puts it in, but it was a slugfest in that first half, kind of slow going. Aaron Jones, the focal point in that first drive, and then he kind of went in typical LaFleur fashion, and then things just kind of stalled out there. But I'll tell you what, this defense flies around. I kind of want to start on the defense. I want to kind of give a little bit of a recap of that first drive, but that defense is speed's apparent, rallying to the football, sure tackles, and then, man, we sent 2 blitzes, I think, that I can recall. I mean, the rest of the guys up front were just infield's lap, where I think if you have a stationary quarterback day, double-digit sack day, I'm sorry.
Yeah, 100%. Our defense kept us in it. I remember, we texted all throughout the game. I'm here at Soldier Field catching flack from Bears fans from the time that I get to Soldier Field saying this is our year. The Green Bay sucks, which that's pretty typical. But we heard it all throughout the offseason that, hey, who's better, Fields or Love? I think we got our answer on Sunday, even though I don't want to overreact. But to your point in the text you sent me, you're like, bend but don't break. Thanks to those field goals that we kept the Bears to when they got into the red zone, I want to say both times. That's what kept us in it in that first half, allowed us to lap them, as LaFleur says, coming out of the second half with a field goal and then a touchdown. But that bend but don't break mentality. And Dave, do we owe some sort of an apology right now, or at least have to give a bit of a retraction of a statement for the way that Darnell Savage kicked off the season, his 10-tackle performance, a willing tackler putting his nose in it? And from what I hear, what Kenny Clark said, he was a pretty vocal leader. And I know LaFleur even shouted him out saying that, hey, we got this, coach. After or I want to say going for it on 4th down or something like that. But should that be the player that we start with, that maybe we need to he has a fresh new season, fresh new outlook?
I'm not ready to write in my official apology letter yet. It's 1 week. It's definitely the best game he's played in a year and a half. I liked what I saw for sure. He put his nose on the football. He made that huge play on that screen pass. He just kind of shot through and 5-yard loss there. If he's going to be a willing tackler and can make the tackles, I'm here for it. But there was a tackle or two that he threw the body in that he whiffed on. So if he can connect more than not, I'm here for it. It's kind of like a home run here. You know, you're going to have your strikeouts and you're going to have your home runs. But with that, Rudy Ford, the guy next to him, didn't have that particularly good of a game. So the safety position is still kind of in flux. And then Keyshawn in the slot was a little bit of a question mark. But overall, you got to like what you see. I mean, led the league in pressures. No one had Van Ness on their bingo card for his first sack of the season. That was a great play by him. I mean, that just shows how, you know, the RAS score, how much Goody values that. Just pure athleticism, just running down fields. That was monster play. And then just young guys on defense in particular on that front contributed mightily. Probably Wyatt's best game.
Yeah, and we haven't even mentioned that Barry decided to take his talents to the press box. he stuck with it for the first week, and not to go back too far to Darnell Savage, but I think it's his best position is when you play him up near the line of scrimmage. And I think for those plays with disrupting the screen and some of those tackles for losses, a lot of those you can attribute to having him play up closer to the football than being 30 yards back. But Devontae Wyatt, I mentioned it yesterday that I'll give him the player of the game. Someone's like, why don't you give it to Jay Love? And I'm like, I think there's going to be a lot of other opportunities that I can give him player of the game for this season. And you talk about a step forward for a sophomore player that I don't want to read too much into it or overreact, saying that, hey, we have a complete hit now out of our defensive tackle. But I was looking back on it. Kenny Clark only played 33% of the snaps in his rookie season. And I know Devontae Wyatt had a lot less than that. And you mentioned that it takes time for things to fully click and turn on. But holy shit, Dave, like that Bears offensive interior did not have an answer for him. And when I'm sitting up in the nosebleed section, I can still see it's pretty evident that Devontae Wyatt was living in the backfield, penetrating. And if not for Justin Fields being like Mike Vick, he had 1.5 sacks and a forced fumble. He's probably finishing the day with 3, if not 4, and having an Aaron Donald or even a major throwback Warren Sapp type performance.
It was the perfect game. I don't care what the opponent was going to be, but week 1, year 2, perfect game for Wyatt to show that on tape, because now that he's shown that he's capable of it, you're not going to be able to just be like, focus on Kenny Clark, because he's put that now that he's capable of that. And it's like, okay, we got other problems along this line now. Talking about another player that probably had his best game of his young career is Quay Walker. I mean, those two guys are up the middle, Wyatt and Walker. If we can hone that in and harness it, hoo boy.
I'll give myself a little bit of a pat on the back. I think it was last week that I mentioned in a walk and talk that the keys to success for this team and getting off the field is those two guys in your front seven. Devontae Wyatt being more stout against the run. I can already tell you that they're upgrades from Tyler Lancaster and Dean Lowry. Like that's already, I'll go ahead and take that to the bank and cash it. And Quay Walker with that pick 6. I talked about last year, like how much of a freak athlete he is. Yeah. Like even from my vantage point, him giving the truck stick to Roschon Johnson, that Bears running back, and that was the dagger call as well during that play. But him running over Roschon Johnson, and then he even gave a juke move to Cole Kmet and sidestepped him to get in the end zone. Like I'm like, geez, do I need to go back and watch some high school tapes for Quay Walker at this time? But geez, Gutekunst once again. I mean, you had 11 rookies play, and then you have your sophomores, and those two step up. I know we'll transition here a little bit to what Romeo Dobbs did in his limited snaps, but game balls have to go to both those two. And then last but not least, we haven't even touched upon Ja Island, and for the most part, erasing the Bears' new toy in DJ Moore that they traded a first-round pick to.
I actually thought Rasul Douglas had a better game than Ja. Like he was physical and all that. Like he erased more for sure. And Claypool just also looked like he did not want to play football that day for whatever reason. Those two, and then I think you're going to start seeing some Valentine kind of mixed in dosage, and then Stokes possibly coming back. Like this defense, if they play to their potential, which we've said for the last 4 or 5 years, is going to cause havoc. You're not going to have time to throw it, and especially if they bring pressure, you're not going to have time to throw it, and that's where mistakes are going to be made. So Rasul and Jared, I'm banking on getting their hands on a lot of balls this year.
Can we please let it continue into week 2 with this aggressive nature of play and having Jair travel with Drake London coming up for the Falcons and playing much more press and dictating the line of scrimmage? That's all I ask. LaFleur wouldn't commit to it. Sure hope it's not on a week-by-week basis, but I think it's been ingrained in the skull of Barry that you've got a player in Jair Alexander. Every week he should be matched up with the other team's one.
Yeah, just have him travel and just let the rest of the guys, match up how they want. But you have Alexander lock down the one, and then the rest kind of fall into step. Big thing, really, we're not even looking at the full Packers team right now. I mean, Gary played 10 snaps. Watson was out. Jones was out for a full quarter, and Jones also didn't get utilized for a full quarter. Dobbs was banged up on a pitch count. Still don't have Stokes back. This team, you could say it's against a Bears team that could possibly lose double-digit win or have double-digit losses again this year. But there's a lot of youth, there's a lot of speed, and I think your stalwarts still haven't really taken the field or gotten a full complementary of snaps yet. So this team is on the rise.
And it had to have affected the play call. Like, I know you weren't a fan of it. It made it known. The lack of touches for Aaron Jones, some of the cutesiness of plays that we had early on before we started getting Musgrave and Reed involved. But do you think, like, LaFleur overthunk it in the first half with not getting Aaron Jones, keeping him fresh, the longevity of the season, and not having, like, a great script? And it wasn't until the second half and focal pointing Aaron Jones that we got back on track. It was a rough go of it in that first half, and what we had dialed up on offense.
I'll say this: the bootleg screen back was fantastic, and then the leak play to Musgrave was fantastic, just in terms of play design and play calling, and that's just stuff that we really haven't seen much or at all. And so that was like in the bag of tricks, which I absolutely loved. But the first half, it's like I didn't get the point of, I didn't understand what he was trying to do, because if you're going to run the ball, run it through Aaron Jones, and he can be kind of shifty enough to gain you those hard 3-4 yards if you're too bottled up, which it seemed like run blocking was a struggle for us. Just not a lot going. Didn't get a good push. And if you're going to have that, you need to have Aaron Jones in to wiggle through and get you the hard 3 or 4, where Dylan needs a little bit more room, needs a little bit of head of steam to go in, to crack through the line. So you're putting Dylan in. And if that's not working, go to the quick game. And it didn't look like LaFleur was dialing up passes to just be like, all right, we're going to throw a bubble screen. We're going to hit it like a 3-yard slant and let the guy do the work, or a shallow cross or something. It just seemed really jumbled. It seemed like the ball just should have been, at that point in time, just going through Aaron Jones, which once he switched up in the second half, man, we were cooking.
Open up the floodgates. I think they're so I went back and watched the tape. I noticed it last year, and it's rearing its ugly head again now. For some reason, I think that either A.J. Dillon's tipping his hand or the offensive line is tipping their hand, because for some reason, whenever we're handing off to A.J. Dillon, he's been getting blown up in the backfield time after time. Whereas with Aaron Jones, I know he's quicker to get to the line of scrimmage and find his hole, but like there was 4 plays that A.J. Dillon had nothing working with, that Our guard is whiffing on the defensive tackle, and A.J. Dillon's meeting Tremaine Edmonds in the backfield on a number of occasions. And I've been saying it, like, you need to have J Love under center and have him with a full head of steam before A.J. Dillon approaches the hole. But I think there has to be some sort of tell when A.J. Dillon's in the game that he's getting the ball, and the defensive line and linebackers are teeing off.
I did know you brought that up. That's a really good point, because I noticed that when Dillon's in and they run play action, there's a much harder bite up in terms of the defensive line and the linebackers biting and committing to the run than when Aaron Jones is getting the play action fake. Now, Jones is dynamic, don't get me wrong, but I think they're more concerned about Jones getting the fake handoff and leaking out and being able to burn them still in the passing game, where Dillon not so much. Dillon had a couple of drops too, and even you saw on the screen pass, you throw a screen pass to him, you got 3 blockers ahead of him, and he still doesn't even get a yard on the screen pass. So, I mean, you're still high on Dillon. I'm not ready to kind of crash down on his tenure here yet. I mean, I was frustrated with him during the game. I think with Jones' injury, you're going to see Wilson called up next week, and that'll be a tell. If Wilson starts kind of maybe not an obviously passing downs, because Dillon's a very good pass willing blocker in that regard. But it'll be interesting if Wilson starts eating into Dillon snaps.
It can happen if you have the slips in the backfield getting blown up again. Like, what's it going to hurt? We know he's on his last year of his rookie deal, and I have to mention that that choice route that Aaron Jones ran for the touchdown, that 54-yarder, and then had a bite on his hamstring at the end of it. I think that touchdown was in large part to the offseason work that him and Jordan Love put in when he flew out to California, was running routes and catching passes from J Love. Like, just how smooth that pitch and catch looked on that choice route by Aaron Jones, and all the confidence that J Love had in him. Yeah, there's something to be said for those two getting together in the offseason, putting in the work, and having the chemistry in week 1. That's a running back catching a wide receiver slot type route.
I wouldn't be surprised if once he's fully healthy, you start seeing Jones go into like a slot wide receiver role. In terms of, okay, if you want to go technical 4 wide here and have Reed on one side of the slot and Jones on the other side of the slot and put Watson and Dobbs, I think that's also like, okay, you go pony and then you motion Jones out into to the slot or something. I'm all for it. You break up a good point of terms of off-season workout and stuff like that. Or even just having a OTA and training camp. Love knew exactly where to go with the football. I mean, you can nitpick his throws and say, he had some slight accuracy issues and missed wide open guys, but he always went to what you would expect to be the most open guy or the correct read, complete command, not razzled at all, puts the ball on the ground, fumbles it. Okay, it's the Green Bay offensive line. Everyone's going to be stacked up, and then we're going to throw one up to Jesus over there, and Musgrave, falling down on his back makes the grab. I mean, he didn't miss one earlier, but it's nice, having the game go this way for us, and still a lot to criticize and say, wow, we could really improve on this part of our game. I think Love's going to be better than a 55% completion rating.
Yeah, not to temper it a little bit. Like, the Bears barely blitzed their front 4. I mean, would they have 1 sack on the day? Maybe 1 or 2 pressure. I think you got to tip your cap to David Bakhtiari being his all-pro self. But other teams are going to blitz us more. And they've looked no further than that first touchdown to Romeo Doubs with how cool, calm, and collected J Love looked in the pocket. And it appeared to me, tell me if I'm wrong, from what it looked like on the TV broadcast, that Dobbs was Love's like third option, going through his progressions and finding Dobbs in the end zone, or that he was just trying to look off the safety to get Dobbs open in the middle of the field.
So it's been kind of broken down by nauseum at this point, but there's a wide receiver running in the flat, which Love looks to, and it looks like he's just trying to drop the linebacker just enough, and he knows he has Dobbs behind him. And then it's not obviously as dramatic as the Rodgers first touchdown pass, but it's pretty impressive first touchdown pass. I mean, he double clutches it a little bit, and then his arm angle kind of slides sidearm to get underneath the defender's arm. It was very impressive ball. Are we ready to crown Dobbs the next Hall of Fame wide receiver out of Green Bay? I mean, not that many yards, but 4 catches and 2 huge ones.
And he had a dog-like catch. Or I'm trying to think of the way that LaFleur would put it for that second touchdown grab he had. Like, looked like a man amongst boys, just over the head. I'm gonna dome him. And then he called him. He's like, you're too little afterwards. I'm like, geez, I wouldn't expect that out of Romeo Dobbs, chirping after the play. But geez, yeah, the guy has limited snaps, and like, he's somebody that he blew up so much at training camp. He had a few knick-knacky injuries and then settled in spurts, but opening up week 1, like, we needed him. Like, you can tell that Aaron Jones was the best player on the field, and then not too far behind him when he was in that like early slant route for 13 yards to put us in 4th and short. And we went for it. Oh, thanks that Romeo was out there to let Love get comfortable. In the second half, we saw that he started opening up the offense to Musgrave. He should have had his first career touchdown. And Jaden Reed had at least 2 third down conversions as well on 3rd and longs. But Romeo Dobbs, should we crown him at this moment? I'm going to hold off, just like some other players like A.J. Dillon, and saying that we need to move on from him. I know it's kind of like it's overreaction Tuesday now, not Monday.
Yeah, right.
But I definitely think Romeo Dobbs is taking a huge step up, just like Devontae Wyatt.
I'll tell you what. If you change the numbers around, let's just say put the quarterback at 12 and put that wide receiver at 17. We've seen that pass and that catch and that result quite a bit over the years. I mean, it looked identical to what we've seen in Green Bay for a while with those 2 players. So Love has learned a bit. You know, it's there's something about having a good tutor, you know, and sitting. And maybe Green Bay's found the right formula of, man, the time to get a quarterback is when you don't need one. Let him sit, let him learn. It's not going to be perfect, but he's going to grow. This offense is going to grow. Just imagine when Watson comes back. Now you don't have Dobbs on a number 1 cornerback. Moves to Watson. Dobbs on a number 2 cornerback. Jaden Reed, love him. Lots to be excited about. He's going to create havoc, and Musgrave is going to grow as well. This offense is going to create problems.
How about Love scrambling a couple of times and putting his shoulder into it, trying to get extra yards on runs?
Don't like it.
Told his agent he was going to do that. But I think the best part about that is to show that not only he's a gamer, he's willing to get some yards with his legs, but also, like, you see how the team responds. Yes. After there was one running play and there was like 4 players came to pick him up by the shoulder pads, get him back in there. It's just such a refreshing, I think, like, new energy. I know the youth and everything like that, but I think this team's really rallying behind Jordan Love, and it wasn't just lip service trying to build his confidence through the preseason. And Rashawn Gary said after the game, stop playing with him, like 3 different times, all hyped up. And Jordan Love acted like it was just another day at the office. Those are the parts that stick with me, that tell me, I'm like, okay, I think he could be the real deal when I see the response of the team, and then just how he looked in the pocket from first to 4th quarter.
So in terms of like years past where it's like, okay, you have Adams where you're just going to feed Adams, or Jordy Nelson back in the heyday. I thought, because you were watching it through, you know, actually at Soldier Field, which is great.
I was watching sitting up there TV with Joe Barry.
I got the sense that all these young wide receivers, once they got the ball, like, thrown to them, they caught it, they made a play, they had that, like, feed me energy. You get what I'm saying? You pop up, you're feeling juiced up about yourself, like, all right, I'm going to start getting on a roll. that's going to go a long way for this team. If you have 2, 3, 4 guys saying, keep feeding me. Like, I have the hot hand right now. You know, like Jayden Reed on a couple of these big third downs was just like, yeah, all right, I got this. Keep going to me. Musgrave, you made the funny comment to me of kind of looking like a, baby deer out there.
Or Alan Lazard, how many times he tripped up over his feet.
But
trying to tumble into the end zone. LaFleur's like he was backpedaling 10 yards to the end zone.
Yeah.
Thought he just got to make sure you get the ball in your midst first. Like nobody around him. Like in the TV broadcast, you probably didn't even see a Bears defender.
Oh no, I assumed he was wide open because the way Love threw it was like, good God, this is going to be either really terrible or really good. And then the first one he missed. I mean, they're going to start hitting on some of these, and I think they didn't even utilize him to his fullest in terms of, all right, let's do little digs or shallows or hitch routes and feed him and give him those first downs and or rub routes for him. He went a lot more vertical than I thought, which I get that that's his game, but I thought he would be more of a safety blanket that we've seen out of camp. It was more Reed was the safety blanket, which Dobbs, when he's healthy, is going to be that. But this is it's hard not to be super excited, right? It's hard not to just be like, wow, like we have some gasoline on the fire going here. If this defense can keep going and this offense can piece it together, I mean, put up friggin' 38 points.
Yeah, both our score predictions were wrong. I was not expecting a blow. I just sure hope that Aaron Jones is going to be available for week 2. I mean, they're talking about he could have went back into the game. Like he is by and far the most important ingredient to this recipe that we'll go as far as he goes. And I know we got to keep him fresh for 17 games, but boy, I was wondering, I'm like, all right, how much does Aaron Jones have left in the tank? Well, it turns out quite a bit.
I'm going to shout out to me real quick, not to switch to defense, but I've been buzzing about Karl Brooks for 3 months now, so I'm just going to take pride in myself for Karl Brooks.
Yeah, first career sack, as he should. His sack celebration was in tribute to former Cardinals longtime player, and now he's with the Ravens. It's Calais Campbell. That was his sack celebration that he did. And Kenny Clark liked it quite a bit. Might have been, I mean, it was towards mop-up time, but hey, a sack is a sack, and there's more to come. More to come for sure.
Yeah, I was. Karl Brooks was a nice, that would have made a couple of really nice plays. I mean, the young guys in general were just there, and it's hard not to say young guys anymore because I think this team averages like 25 years old, which, I mean, we've never seen a quarterback younger than us for our entire fanhood here, and now the average roster is 6 years younger than me, so we're getting old in a hurry here, Jordan.
We are. What do we got to say about the special teams? I think there's a lot of good to come from it as well, to transition to the defense side of it before we close up the tab and put a pin before I know the next few days we got to preview the Falcons coming up. This one needs to be put to bed. We're 1-0, but we're already on to heading down to Hotlanta. We've had not a ton of success recently, but yeah, for the defense, what stood out to you, Dave?
Well, Carlson hit that kick from 52 yards, and it looked like it was going to go all the way to Green Bay.
Another Sheboygan kick?
Could have been a Sheboygan call. Wallen, I mean, I get it. You want to see a couple of those land inside the 20 there instead of the touchbacks, but he hit some missiles, and then it was kind of didn't let anyone explode on us, which that's always been the worry. There's a couple of times that we just got our mitt on the ankle and the foot and tripped them up just a bit. Reed had a really nice punt return, just tiptoeing up that sideline. And then Keyshawn looked like he was going to break one, looked a little bit pissed off at himself because he just got kind of ticky-tacked up there and lost his footing. But overall, it was a very collective, great outing. I mean, there's not much you can – I mean, go ahead. But I don't have any really you beat
criticism.
your nemesis that's been kind of trash talking us all week, and they're saying that put the gold jacket on Fields, and Love's going to be nothing, and we pretty much had them the entire every single phase of the game.
Yeah. How about turning point in the game? The high snap that Whelan brought down, that Carlson kicked through. Like, let's say he doesn't make that field goal. We could come out flat on offense. That's where we lapped him. We got the 3. I always call it doubling up, but I think now we have to, officially LaFleur's calling it lapping them. That's kind of a turning point with Whelan hold. The kick is good, heading in with a ton of confidence. At halftime, Eric Wilson had a really nice solo tackle on the kickoff team, if not 2 tackles on it. I have no quarrels with that. And it was when I was leaving my nosebleed seats to find a better one, because the Bears fan that I met up with at tailgate, that was a complete disaster, Dave. I'm never going back to Soldier Field ever again. It took me an hour and a half to find his tailgate spot. Stupid, but Oof. He's like, yeah, come down. I got a spot for you. And I'm like, yeah, I'll come after this possession. We scored on offense. I was walking down the aisle, going to find a spot. And he's like, oh, no, the people text me, telling me they're going to come back. I think he said that because we were opening up the game on him, and he probably didn't want me to, twist the knife in. But then I was walking back up. Here I see Jaden Reed catch the punt and then turn up field for 35 yards. I'm like, is he about to make a house call here on this one? I don't know if there was really too much bad besides Whelan not getting anything within the 20. So all in all, 3 phases. Bears, what happened to your 4,000-yard passer and Justin Fields? Oh, these Bear fans, Dave, beginning of the game, like they're world beaters. Halfway through, they're saying fire Getsy, sell the team. We need to get this thing to Arlington Heights. I agree with Arlington Heights. We need a lot better parking and tailgate that's
my hometown.
3 miles away. Yeah, bring it to Dave's hometown. Don't trust that Dave's going to switch sides though and go to Green Bay. I don't know what we're calling this one because Green Bay East is already taken by the Jets, but yeah, a lot to feel good about from this game. I'm still riding the high from it before we turn the page.
Yeah, we got a couple of days here. We probably got till Friday to kind of keep twisting the knife a little bit, slowly but surely. Overall, this team needs to be coached up a little bit more. I think the one kind of takeaway you can have is there's a little bit of there's a chippiness to the game already, but there's a little bit of penalties or kind of disciplinary stuff that you just kind of want to say, let's be a little bit smarter. The Campbell play after the fumble, kind of pulling the guy off the pile, and you lose 15 yards on the fumble recovery. Jair made a great play on Fields, kind of when Fields is running it and hit him inbounds. But then it gets really chippy, and for whatever reason, the Bears, start dogpiling on them, and they get flagged for that, and we must have retaliated because we gave it right back. Stuff like that of the coach speak, keep your composure, all that stuff. I think that can kind of be in that kind of category of young team, kind of keep your head on a swivel, kind of the Quay Walker issues of the past, which Quay was very outspoken about in this offseason, saying he's getting help for, and he was very tempered, and you'd love to see that. But yeah, if this defensive line and this offensive line, like we talked about going into the week, plays the way that it played this week, this team's going to be a playoff team.
Dave, we could be. I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but we could be looking at a 3-0 when you come to Lambeau for that Thursday night matchup. 3-0 teams square off in the NFC North. Oh, the headlines that would come from that. I will mention quickly that Quay Walker was not involved in any the skirmishes during the joint practice. So hey, took him a couple times, but he may have learned his lesson. Anything for the good of the whole, Dave? I definitely want to end it with the Bears still suck. 15 years, 20 years as us as fans. It's twice a year we usually get to say that, but anything before we let these fans get back to the rest of their workday, including myself, and maybe we get together here in a couple days and preview what's to come for a 1-0 Falcons team.
I've repped Green Bay gear every single day since Sunday, and so I've been just showing it out to the to the state of Illinois. We got some trash talk all the way till we meet again in January, and one team is going to be in the hunt, and one team is going to be probably a top 5 pick again this year. So
You heard it here first.
yeah, it's been a good week. Got to rib some guys at work, and we got the Green Bay flag flying outside the house right now, and all in all, good things, man. Hopefully we see you on Friday, talk some Falcons Packers, and kind of another game preview. We get another W, and away we go.
You can go ahead and book it.
All right, man. You enjoy the rest of your sunny Green Bay day.
I need hot cocoa out here. Like I'm
Ooh.
a little shivery, but hey, this is what I moved here for. This Packer weather.
Can't complain, man, especially when you get a win. But town must be buzzing.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Till next time.